I talked about this when I first heard it, Gladiator 2. When I first heard the news of Gladiator 2, I was clearly against this. I couldn't be convinced that it could, the fact that Ridley Scott was involved, I figured, all right, you know what? If Ridley is behind this, he's helming it. He's the guy. He's the one who brought us Gladiator, my favorite, in my top favorite movies of all time. It's almost tied with 7. I did a review on my channel on this very film, Gladiator, and how much I love it, and how many iterations of the movie I own in different formats. I was not pleased. Even with Ridley behind it, I figured, okay, it gets a little more, optimism, but still did not think it could possibly, I just didn't know what they were going to do, right? So now the trailer has dropped. The first trailer. I've read the news. I've seen things in Vanity Fair and Variety and got little tidbits of information, and Pedro Pascal and Denzel Washington and this one and that one. And I watched the trailer for the first time, and I'm here to talk about it. We're going to get into it next on That Guy Talks. Movies and trailers and disappointment. Welcome to That Guy Talks Movies. I am that guy talking movies, and in this case, talking trailers, movie trailers. Gladiator 2. The trailer has dropped. We're going to get into it. We're going to talk about it. I'm going to dissect it a little bit. Not going to go detail for detail, and I'm not going to do the whole reaction thing where I sit and look at a screen and tell you what I think. I'm just going to tell you what I think after I've seen it, okay? Before we do that, though, if you haven't subscribed, you found this channel, you want to hear a guy talk about movies and talk about trailers and talk about things related to entertainment and film-related stuff and topics, hit that subscribe button below. I truly appreciate that. And to my subscribers, the people who stick with me, who comment, who like my videos, I really appreciate y'all. Let's get into it. All right. So the obvious first thing that I guess has to happen is you have to think, okay, what is this story, right? Maximus dies in the arena at the end of the first one. So clearly we're not getting anything continuation revolving around him, right? I mean, I guess a while back, there was some brief speculation that maybe it was sort of like a prequel, Maximus when he was younger. But really, where was that story going to go? I can't even imagine that, okay? So what we have is, let's talk about who's in this and talk about what the actual story is, right? In case you don't know by now. And then I'm going to explain to you why. Paul Mescal will star as the main character, Lucius. If you remember Lucius Ferris, that was the son of Lucilla, right? Connie Nielsen's character. And she's actually reprising that role, and she will be back. This kid, who was played by Spencer Clark, I believe, was a kid, right? The nephew of Commodus, Joaquin Phoenix's character, right? He's back, but he's grown up now. Connie Nielsen returns to reprise her role from the first film. Pedro Pascal will play General Marcus Acacius. Marcus Acacius. All the freaking Stoic reading and Marcus Aurelius stuff I read. I should know how to pronounce all this stuff, right? Joseph Quinn appears as Emperor Geta, and Fred Heckinger plays Emperor Carcalla. And Denzel Washington, my man, he's playing power broker named Macrinius. All right, and then we've got Lyra Raz and Derek Jacobi. Now, that immediately begs the question, because he wasn't in the trailer, and I've done some research online, and I don't see my boy Jobim Hansu. How could he not be in the movie? There was some rumors. There was some talk about it. He was asked about whether he'd be in Gladiator 2. This was early on. I think he was supposed to be in the role. Something happened. I don't know what happened. I don't know what the official story is. If any of you know what the official story is and why he's not in the second one, let me know in the comments below. But apparently he's not in it. And that right there is enough to piss me off, because he was an incredible character. And he's the last person on screen in the movie. He leaves the arena. He's playing with the sand. He buries Maximus's family, the little statues he had. And you'll see him in the next life, but not yet. Not yet. But he's not in this movie. At least, not yet. So the actual story. Grown-up Lucius, played by Paul Mescal, resides peacefully with his family in Numidia, which is where Juba is from, Jaimin Hunsu's character. But General Marcus Acacius, played by Pedro Pascal, invasion of the city forces Lucius into slavery. Now, inspired by Russell Crowe's Maximus, Lucius decides to become a gladiator and challenge the rule of emperors. Basically, these evil emperor twins that are in the movie. That's the actual plot for the movie, which to me sounds like a very thinly veiled, homage to the first. I don't even want to say an homage to. Let me change that. Which sounds to me like a regurgitation of the first one, which will not work. All right. You can't repackage Gladiator with this guy playing essentially the Maximus role. And then Denzel Washington is essentially playing Proximo, right? Mentor sort of guy who owns Gladiators. He's kind of a, he's this guy, right? Who's orchestrating all the stuff behind the scenes. He handles business and stuff, right? You can't do this. Even some of the shots in the trailer. There are shots in the trailer with Paul Mescal, grown-up Lucius, coming out of the bowels of the arena, entering into a gladiatorial match. And it looks like Maximus, the shots from the original Gladiator, where he's coming out, shadows and dust, Maximus. You hear Proximo in the background. Marcus Aurelius had a dream, Proximo. This is not it. This is not it. I feel like saying that. Because this is not it. These are just shots of gladiatorial stuff happening in action in rhinoceroses, which they should have had that in the first one. Because go into like the gladiatorial history and the fact that rhinoceroses were a big fighting. They used those often in fights and such, but they didn't use them in the first one. Anyway, I digress. This looks to me like a regurgitation, a redo of Gladiator for this generation. That's what it looks like. And it disappoints me that Ridley Scott would be part of that. Probably not his doing, probably not his say. What else pisses me off about this is you have a period piece here and we throw in Jay-Z and Kanye West. Two of my favorites. So this is not about Jay-Z and Kanye West. If you recall, for years, the last almost 10 years, it seemed like, especially when the Watch the Throne album came out, that almost every song on that album, or at least 2 or 3, were continually used for every trailer. It could have been a trailer about little girls falling in love in high school and passing notes back and forth, and they would have used a Kanye West Jay-Z song. They're doing it here. I don't think it works. It's a bad choice. Now, I found out someone said that the original trailer for Gladiator, the early trailers for that film, they used a Kid Rock song. They used that Batida whatever song by Kid Rock. I don't remember that. Doesn't seem to make sense. Speaking of music, it just gets worse. It just gets worse for me. There's no Hans Zimmer score here. Harry Gregson Williams is doing the score. This is an issue for me. This is an issue for me. This doesn't work. No Hans Zimmer, no Lisa Gerrard on the vocals. It doesn't work. Again, not saying we need to imitate the first one, which is part of my problem, which I don't want them to do, but at least keep integrity with the score. Let's do that. Hans is around. Hans is working. I know he's a busy guy, but you don't do Gladiator 2 without Hans Zimmer. You just don't do it. Lisa Gerrard, maybe come back. So really, the trailer just seems to be an issue for me. And then the actual script, right? Let's talk about that for a second. The screenplay is by a guy named David Scarpa, who doesn't have a resume that's too impressive to me. So I'm sort of like, okay, this is who you got to do this? I just don't get it. I don't get it. I feel the way I feel when I talk about biopics. How if you're going to do a biopic, you better make sure you're picking seasoned, veteran, accomplished, talented, tried and tested, battle-hardened writers and directors and people involved. Do Gladiator 2. Gladiator, if you remember, and I talked about it again in my review. If you haven't seen the review, make sure you check that review. It had multiple writers on there. And there were a lot of script iterations and things happening even while filming. Russell Crowe was involved in some of the changes in the lines and all these things. And Ridley Scott. It wasn't just, 1 or 2 random writers. There's a lot of work that went into that. And what made it so good, the critical part of the success of Gladiator was that it was not a revenge film. It was not a revenge film. It was not about a guy who, a general who becomes a slave, who becomes a gladiator, who defies an empire. Yeah, that's the tagline. I get it. But that wasn't a revenge film. That was a film about a man who wanted to get home to his wife and kid. That's what that movie was about. They did testing and screening on this, and they found out that the female audience was equally behind this movie as much as men because of that reason. Because it wasn't just fighting in the arena. If you look at this film, if you look at Gladiator, Maximus was trying to get home the whole time. It's all he wanted to do. The opening shot of the film. He just wants to go home. He's thinking, he's in the wheat. He's got his hand going through, and all he's thinking about, his mind is elsewhere. He's not on the battle right there in Germania. Not until, what's his name? Quintus distracts him. He wants to go home. When he gets back after the battle in Germania, after they win, after they're celebrating in the tents and they're hanging out, what do you want to do? I want to go back to my house, to Spain, to a wife, to the harvest. Maximus the farmer, right? You know, dirt cleans off much easier than blood does, Quintus. Right? He wants to go home. Then everything goes the wrong way and he gets, you know, what happens with him. And what does he want to do? He still wants to go home. He wants to die, for God's sakes, practically. And then when he does die, he can't wait to go home. Go to them. Last line of Lucilla's. Well, it's not her last line, but last line to him is go to them. He closes his eyes, the wheat, opens up the door. There's his wife and his kid waiting for him in the afterlife, in Elysium. This movie with Pedro Pascal and this other dude playing Gladiator, it's just, it looks like a revenge film. I don't see the heart of it yet. Now, maybe, perhaps I'm being a bit rash. I'm jumping the gun. Maybe there's another trailer that will come out that will give it more depth. We'll have more profound, engaging, really something that pulls at us. I'm sure they're working that in somehow. I'm sure, you know, because realistically, this is, you know, Lucius, his mother sends him away for 20 years or sends him out away from Rome. I guess she had her rationale for sending him away. So I'm sure there's a mother-son story here. You know, he doesn't realize. There's a line in the actual trailer where he says he doesn't know his mother or where he was born. Like, I was like, well, how does he not know that? He knows who his father is. He knows who his mother is. What happened? Did he lose his memory or something? Is there some memory loss happening? I don't know. It seems a little odd to me. I want to see where the story's going to go. Of course, I'm going to go to the theater and see this. It's a Ridley Scott film. It's Gladiator 2. I'm going to go see it in the theater. Just not excited just yet. I'm not there yet. I'm a little disappointed. Look, this. I'm going to have to go watch this now. Go watch the original Gladiator to get myself off of this. Anyway, you've seen the trailer probably by now. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on the trailer. If you haven't seen the trailer, go watch the trailer and then come back here, go to the comment section, tell me below if you think I'm nuts or if you agree with me. What do you think? I want to know in the comments below. And if you like the video, hit the like button. It's a little thumb thing, whatever. Just hit that because it helps the algorithm and all the people behind the scenes, the man. It helps all that stuff make these videos, you know, go out there for other people to see. Okay. And that's really it until there's more news on this and until I come up with something else to talk about. I'll see you on the next That Guy Talks Movies. Peace.